The candle was still flickering when she said it. I was never yours to keep. Like that wasn't the cruelest sentence I'd ever heard. I hadn't even spoken. I was just standing there, holding the takeout bag I picked up for her because she said she had a headache and didn't feel like cooking. She was sitting cross-legged on the couch, wrapped in a blanket I bought her for Christmas last year, the one she called the softest thing in the world. And she said that, like it was some poetic truth that should set us both free. But it didn't set me free. It caged me, froze me, made my skin cold. I stared at her, not even at her face, just at her hands. Her left one still had the ring. The same ring she cried over when I gave it to her. Now it meant nothing. She was calm. That's what scared me the most. No tears. No regret. Just a woman who had already moved on in her heart long before her lips caught up. And I, like a fool, asked the dumbest question a man can ask in that moment. So, is there someone else? She looked at me, and tilted her head like she was studying a wounded animal. And then she said, "That's not what this is about." Every man who's ever heard that sentence knows exactly what it means. It means yes. It means someone else is already inside her world, but she doesn't want to make him the villain. She wants to exit clean, quiet, neat. But hearts don't break cleanly. Mine didn't. I didn't say another word. I just dropped the bag of food on the coffee table, and it made this ridiculous thump, like it was announcing the end of our marriage. She didn't flinch, just reached over, opened it, and started picking at the rice with a fork. And I stood there, watching her eat, like nothing happened, like she didn't just shatter everything we built with 6 words. I went upstairs, closed the door, sat on the floor in the dark. I didn't cry, not yet. I just stared at the closet and thought, if she was never mine to keep, why the hell did she let me build a life around her? But that night, something shifted. In me. I didn't even know it yet, but the version of me that begged and compromised and waited for crumbs, he started to die right there on that floor. And the next few days? She had no idea what they would cost her. The next morning, she made coffee like nothing happened. I came downstairs and found her humming. Actually humming, like she didn't tell me hours ago that she wasn't mine to keep. She poured 2 cups, placed one at my usual spot, smiled, and then casually said, "You should eat before your 9 o'clock call." I looked at her and genuinely wondered for a second if I hallucinated last night. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe I misheard. But no, her eyes were too calm, too distant. That wasn't a dream. That was a premeditated escape. She had already emotionally left this marriage and was now just managing the optics. Polite, clean. Like I was a roommate, she was slowly easing out of the lease. I couldn't sit across from her. I couldn't pretend everything was normal. So I said nothing, took my coffee, and went back upstairs. But I didn't log into work. I opened the closet, and I just stared at it, at our life, lined up on hangers. Then I did something she never expected. I started packing, quietly, deliberately. No drama. I didn't storm around or slam drawers. I just folded shirts, zipped bags, and made decisions. Every minute I packed, I felt a different part of me coming back. Not the man she dismantled, but the one I had shelved for years to keep this house peaceful. The man who once had boundaries. The man who could survive without her. Downstairs, I heard her on the phone, laughing. It was that laugh, the one she used when she was trying too hard to sound carefree. I heard her say, "No, it's fine. He's just upstairs." Then she lowered her voice and said something I couldn't catch. I stood there, holding a hoodie I hadn't worn since our weekend trip to Asheville. The one she said made me look like a teenage dad. I nearly tossed it, but I folded it, zipped it up, and kept going. Around noon, she came up to check on me. She saw the half-packed suitcase on the bed and immediately froze. "Wait, what are you doing?" I didn't look at her. I just said, "Giving you what you asked for." She blinked. "I didn't ask you to leave." "No, you asked me to let you go," I replied, my voice quieter than I expected. "So I am." She stood there with her arms folded, suddenly unsure. Like she had released a bird from a cage and was shocked it didn't come back. "This is ridiculous," she muttered. "You're being dramatic." That word, dramatic, nearly made me snap. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask her how I was supposed to react when the person I built a life with confessed she was never really mine. But I didn't give her that satisfaction. I just said, "You can't call a man dramatic for reacting to betrayal. Just because you made peace with it months ago doesn't mean I have to pretend I'm okay." She looked away, jaw clenched. Then, In a voice just above a whisper, she said, "So this is it?" I nodded. She didn't cry. Of course she didn't. She just left the room and slammed the door hard enough to rattle a photo off the dresser. But I stayed in that room for another 2 hours. Not because I was hesitating, but because I needed to feel every second of what she'd taken from me. Every compromise, every silent rejection, every ignored text, every night she turned her back to me in bed. I wasn't just packing a bag. I was packing 6 years of being invisible. And she didn't even realize yet that I was taking more than just clothes with me. I left without ceremony. No big exit, no dramatic final speech. Just keys on the counter and silence. The weight of those keys hit louder than any words I could have said. She didn't come downstairs. She knew I was leaving. She just didn't think I'd follow through. She thought I was bluffing. I took one suitcase, my laptop, and the hoodie she always made fun of. That was it. I didn't take the framed photos. I didn't take the anniversary book we never finished. I didn't even take the cologne she bought me last Christmas. Because I didn't want to carry the smell of a lie with me. I walked out the front door and didn't even check if she was watching. That's how done I was. Not angry. Just done. It wasn't until I got to the motel, a dingy little roadside place with flickering hallway lights and a vending machine that ate my dollar, that I finally let myself fall apart. Sitting on that creaky mattress, I stared at my phone, wondering if she'd text. Say something. Anything. An apology. A sarcastic "that was fast." Even a cold goodbye. But my screen stayed dark. So I did what any heartbroken fool does at 11 p.m. in a cheap motel. I checked her social media. And that's when everything changed. Her profile photo was the same, but her recent post was different. It was a black and white picture of a glass of wine and a hand, his hand, wearing a watch I didn't recognize. The caption? Just one word. Finally. I zoomed in like an idiot. Over and over. My gut twisted in ways I didn't know were possible. And then I realized something else. The hand was resting on her leg. Her bare leg. She had already replaced me. And not just replaced, erased me. Like I never existed. I scrolled. I found more. Likes from someone named Nolan. Comments like, "Took you long enough, girl fire." One even said, "He's lucky to have you." He. I slammed my phone face down on the nightstand. I couldn't breathe for a second. The rage didn't even come all at once. It was slow, thick, creeping in like smoke under a door. She'd been planning this. That post didn't come from heartbreak. It came from freedom. She wasn't crying. She wasn't lost. She was celebrating. And I was the idiot in a cheap motel, waiting for closure she'd already given herself. I spent the rest of the night staring at the ceiling, rehearsing every conversation we ever had. Every warning sign. Every lie wrapped in calm explanations. Every fake laugh. Every time she said, "You're just overthinking things." I wasn't overthinking. I was right. I was always right. And now I had nothing but time. Time to think. Time to accept. And time to choose my next move. Because I wasn't going back. Not after that post. Not after the way she smiled like I was a chapter she finally got to close. But what she didn't expect was that I'd start writing a new story. And in this one, she's just a footnote. I didn't plan to open her message. I didn't even think she'd text me, not after that smug little "finally" post. But the universe has a twisted sense of humor. 3 days after I left, while I was halfway through a microwave burrito in the motel's cracked kitchenette, my phone buzzed, her name lighting up my screen like a ghost rising from the ashes. At first, I thought it was a mistake. But then I saw the preview of the message, and my stomach turned inside out. It wasn't meant for me. The message read, "He still thinks I haven't told him everything." It's almost sad. My chest tightened. I just sat there, frozen, rereading it like the words might change. That text wasn't for me. That was meant for someone else, probably him. Her new freedom. Nolan. My hands were shaking as I opened it. She hadn't even realized her mistake yet. There were no follow-ups, no apologies. Just that one damning sentence. Confirmation that not only had she moved on, but she had also lied more than I even knew. She was laughing about me. With him. Talking about how I was still in the dark while she played house with someone else. Something inside me cracked right then. It wasn't the heartbreak. I'd already drowned in that. This was different. This was humiliation. The kind that simmers under your skin until it becomes something sharp. I didn't reply. I didn't confront her. I let her sit with her silence, thinking I never saw the message. Because for the first time in a long time, I didn't want to be seen as the weak one. I wanted her to think I'd vanished, that I'd folded, that I was too destroyed to fight back. Let her feel safe. Because the truth was, I'd started piecing things together. I knew Nolan's full name now. His profile wasn't private. He worked in hospital admin. Not even clinical. Just another charming suit with a weak chin and an Instagram filled with gym mirror selfies and overpriced whiskey. He wasn't better than me. He was just new. I saw that they'd followed each other 4 months ago, while she was still kissing me goodnight. While I was still cooking her stupid gluten-free pasta and massaging her neck when she said the hospital was too much. While I was blaming myself for her coldness, her distance, her silence. All that time, she was just transitioning to someone else. I wanted to scream, break something, but instead, I screenshot the message. I saved it quietly, and then I did something that surprised even me. I drove back to the house. I didn't go in. I just parked across the street at 1:47 a.m., engine off, lights off, watching the bedroom window that used to be mine. Her light was on, and his car, Nolan's, was in the driveway. She hadn't even waited a week. She didn't even have the decency to pretend she missed me for longer than it took to microwave leftovers. I watched the light go off, and I realized something. She wasn't mourning. She wasn't second-guessing. She wasn't pacing around missing me. She was already sleeping next to him in our bed. I should have been crushed, but I wasn't. I was finished. And when I left that street, I left more than just the house behind. I left the part of me that begged. She texted me 4 days later. Just one word. Hey. No punctuation. No apology. No explanation. And it came at 10:02 p.m., which told me everything I needed to know. Nolan had probably fallen asleep, and she was lying there, eyes open, thinking of the man she didn't expect to stay gone. The backup plan. The safe harbor. The guy who always forgave her, even when she didn't deserve it. But this time, I didn't respond. Not because I didn't want to. Trust me, I stared at that message like it was a bomb waiting to go off, but because something in me had changed. I wasn't desperate anymore. I was exhausted. 2 hours later, she sent another. I didn't mean to hurt you. I actually laughed. Like a real, out-loud laugh in the middle of my freezing motel room, where the air conditioning never shut off no matter what button I pressed. She didn't mean to hurt me. That's what people say when they bump into you in a grocery store. Not when they replace you in your own bed and pretend your love was an inconvenient phase. But I still didn't reply. The next morning, I got 3 missed calls. Then silence. She was playing the game I used to fall for: retreat, wait, reappear. She was expecting me to spiral, to reach out, to ask what she was thinking, what she was feeling, what I could do. But I didn't, because I'd been doing something she never saw coming: healing. Not the cliché kind. I didn't go hiking or drink smoothies or download some self-help podcast. No, I did something quieter, something she'd never expect from me. I started writing everything down, not to send, not to guilt her, but to remember, to document the exact way she made me feel, how it felt to watch her eyes dim when she looked at me, how her laugh changed around her phone, how her fingers twitched when she lied. I wrote about the night I caught her texting someone at 2 a.m., and she said it was just memes. I wrote about the anniversary she forgot, but still posted a selfie from the gym. I wrote about the ring she once adored, the one she started taking off when she needed space. And the more I wrote, the more I remembered who I was before I became small for her comfort, before I started apologizing for existing. Then, one night, she called. No warning, just her name and that old familiar ringtone I hadn't changed. I let it ring out. Then she called again, and on the third try, I answered, not because I wanted to talk, but because I wanted to hear how she'd explain herself now that the silence wasn't working. Emery, she said, like she was relieved. Like she thought this was the beginning of our reunion arc. But I didn't give her anything. Just silence. I've been thinking, she continued. About everything. About us. More silence. I don't know what I was doing, she added. I think I was just scared, and I made a mistake. Still, I said nothing. Can we talk? I almost asked, are you alone? But I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of knowing she still had a grip on me. Instead, I finally spoke, and my voice came out colder than I expected. I don't think you're scared. I think you're bored. She didn't respond right away. I heard her breathing, waiting, hoping I'd follow it up with a joke, a softening, an opening. But I didn't. I hung up, and in that exact moment, I realized something that hit harder than all her lies combined. She wasn't in control anymore. I was. After I hung up on her, I expected a storm. Anger, accusation, maybe even the classic guilt trip. But instead, there was silence. For 2 full days. And honestly, it was beautiful. No beeping notifications, no long texts trying to rewrite the past, no fake vulnerability dressed up as closure. Just silence. And for once, I didn't feel alone in it. I felt free. But then, on the 3rd day, the silence cracked. It started with a Venmo request. Yes, seriously. She requested $28. 75 with the note, for the charger you took. I stared at it for a full minute, wondering if it was a joke. But no, that was her way back in. Passive-aggressive and petty, as always. I declined the request without a word. She sent another with no note this time. I declined again. Then she texted, "Are we seriously doing this?" That was the moment I realized something had shifted. She wasn't confused. She wasn't hurt. She was panicking. Because the version of me she thought she knew, the one who always folded, always gave in, always chose peace over pride, he was gone. And she didn't know how to handle the silence when she wasn't the one controlling it. The next night, I got another text. It was longer. She said she was just trying to be mature, that I was being cold, and that she could have handled things better, sure, but so could you. The nerve of that message made my blood boil, but I didn't reply. Instead, I just reread the screenshot of her earlier mistake. He still thinks I haven't told him everything. It's almost sad. That one text reminded me why I left. Why I was never going back. Then the calls started again. One at 11:12 p.m., then another at midnight. Then 2 back-to-back at 1:04 a.m. No voicemails, just endless ringing. I watched each one come and go, my heart no longer racing like it used to. I wasn't angry. I was detached, and that was the worst thing she could have imagined. By the time the weekend hit, she switched tactics. Now came the memory bombs. Pictures of our cat. A video from our trip to Colorado. A photo of me asleep on the couch, wrapped in the blanket she left behind. Each one with no caption, like a landmine disguised as nostalgia. She was trying to reel me back in through sentiment, something that used to work. But I didn't open a single one. I could tell she was unraveling. Her Instagram went dark. Story stopped. She unfollowed Nolan. Not that I was checking, but I noticed. His page? Still public. Still posting. But now with no mention of her. No tags. No likes. The man she risked our entire life for had already started moving on. And that's when it clicked. She didn't want me back. She just didn't want to be the one who got left behind. I let that thought settle in. Let it wrap around me like armor. Because the truth was ugly and simple. She threw everything away for a man who saw her as temporary. And now that the thrill wore off, she wanted to crawl back into the safety she once resented. But this time, the door was locked. And not because I was being cruel. Because I had finally learned what she never did. Love without loyalty isn't love at all. It's performance. That night, I finally slept 8 full hours. No dreams. No interruptions. Just silence. And in the quiet, I realized something strange. She hadn't broken me, but she was breaking herself. It was raining when she finally showed up. No warning, no text, just headlights cutting through the motel parking lot like a ghost from a past I'd already buried. I heard the knock on my door before I believed it was real. 2 soft taps. Hesitant. The kind of knock people use when they're not sure if they're welcome. I didn't answer right away. I stood there behind the door, heart weirdly steady, staring at her blurry silhouette through the peephole. She stood there in that same denim jacket she used to wear when things were still good, hair soaked from the rain, mascara smudged under her eyes like she'd already been crying for miles. When I finally opened the door, I didn't speak. I just stepped back and let her in. Not because I wanted her inside, but because I wanted to see what version of herself she'd bring with her. And this time, she brought the broken one. The version she used to hide. The one she saved for late-night breakdowns in the bathroom when she thought I was asleep. She sat on the edge of the bed without asking. Her hands trembled in her lap. And for the first time since she'd ended everything with a smug 6-word sentence, she actually looked nervous. She didn't look powerful. She didn't look right. She looked like someone who'd been haunted by silence and finally cracked under the weight of it. "I don't even know where to start," she whispered. So I didn't help her. I let her fumble. Let her choke on the guilt. "I messed everything up," she said, staring at the floor. I thought there'd always be time. That you'd still be there when I figured things out." Still, I said nothing. I wanted to hear the whole thing. Every little justification. Every broken sentence. I never meant for it to go that far with him. She continued, and I almost flinched, not because she admitted it, but because she finally said it out loud. No more pretending. No more half-truths. She slept with him. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't just talking. It was physical. Repeated. Chosen. I just felt like I was disappearing, she said. And he made me feel seen. For a little while. But it didn't mean anything, not really. I raised an eyebrow at that. She noticed. I know how that sounds, she added quickly. I'm not defending it. I lost myself. And I took it out on you. I should have yelled. I should have thrown something. But I didn't. I just sat on the chair across from her and let her keep unraveling. Because I knew this wasn't about honesty. It was about regret. She wasn't here to make things right. She was here because she thought she had nothing left to lose, and no one left to run to. I thought you'd chase me, she said finally, almost like an accusation. I thought you'd come back and fix it like always. And there it was. The truth behind every cruel thing she ever said. She thought I was predictable, forgiving, safe. She never thought I'd grow a spine. She never thought I'd get quiet. You didn't think I'd mean it, I said calmly. When I let you go. She shook her head slowly, tears in her eyes now, real ones this time. I didn't think you'd stop loving me. But that's where she was wrong. I hadn't stopped loving her. I just stopped loving who she became. She stayed sitting there on the bed, her hands shaking in her lap, waiting for something, a lifeline, maybe, a soft word, a sign that I hadn't really moved on, that somewhere underneath all this distance, I was still her safety net. But what she didn't realize was that I had already forgiven her, just not in the way she wanted. I had forgiven her in the way that meant I no longer needed her. I no longer carried her choices like weight on my chest. I wish I could undo it, she whispered, barely able to meet my eyes. But I wasn't looking for apologies anymore. I wasn't even angry. I was just tired of holding on to a version of love that only worked when I bent myself into something smaller, something easier for her to manage. I'm not angry, I said finally. And it was the truth. I just don't want to go back to who I was with you. She looked up then, truly confused. Like she couldn't comprehend that someone could love her once and still choose to walk away. And maybe that was the greatest lesson she never expected. That sometimes the biggest act of love is refusing to let someone break you again. She asked if we could meet again. Just talk. Not about us. About anything. Her voice was hopeful. Desperate. I saw the cracks now, not just in her voice, but in the identity she had tried to build without me. She looked lost. But I didn't step in to save her. That wasn't my role anymore. I told her I hoped she healed. That I genuinely wanted her to find whatever it was she had been chasing all along. But I wasn't going to be there for the search. I had already started writing a new chapter, and she didn't have a place in it. I walked her out. She lingered in the doorway, waiting for something, a hug, a moment, a second chance. But I gave her what she truly needed instead. Closure. 3 weeks later, I moved out of the motel and into a small downtown apartment. It was nothing special, chipped tiles, weird plumbing sounds, but it was mine. No ghosts, no half-lies, just peace. I went back to writing, got new clients, took long walks alone, not because I was lonely, but because I could finally hear my own thoughts again. And then one day, at a local bookstore, I met someone. Her name's Harper. No dramatic story, no whirlwind romance. Just a quiet moment in the poetry section when we both reached for the same collection. She smiled. I smiled. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I had to perform to be seen. We talked. We laughed. We exchanged numbers. I didn't rush it. I didn't expect anything. I just let it unfold. And maybe that's the point. Sometimes the person who breaks you does you a favor, because they force you to rebuild without their hands in the mix. And what you build afterward, it's stronger, calmer, real. Darcy was never mine to keep. But peace? Peace is something I finally decided to keep for myself.